The last few projects we were working on was like funeral products for insurance company. I was like, am I
Oh,
really doing this right
yeah.
now? Not that I have anything against it. There's a place and time for insurance. It's just I didn't see myself doing that type of design in my career. And I did a lot of
Yeah.
exciting stuff. But this was a point where I felt I needed some change. And this came out of nowhere. And I just fell in love with it once I started working on the truck. Like the concept was like,
Okay.
oh, that's kind of cool. It's a farm stand on the side of the road. It's not a new idea. It's probably been
Hmm.
around since the Egyptians or, probably older than that. But to do it, to do good, to
Yeah.
help your community.
Hey, folks, and welcome to this latest episode of the Small Tech Podcast. I'm Raf, co founder of EC, the digital product studio building technologies for a more sustainable future. And today we have another amazing guest. He is the co founder and CEO of the Farmer's Truck, which empowers community leaders to increase fresh food access in their communities by providing mobile produce market solutions which create a market-style experience that fosters pride and dignity. I first met him a few weeks ago at Startup Fest in Montreal, where we really connected over the intersection of entrepreneurship, tech, and impact, and it was such a great conversation. So I needed to talk to him some more, dig into what exactly the Farmer's Truck is, the story, how he's been building it, and yeah, I think it was a really interesting conversation, and I hope you enjoy it. Hey, Fred, how's it going?
Good, good, good. How about you?
I am doing all right. So thanks for hopping on the podcast. I have a couple of questions that I'd like to kick us off with.
Sounds great.
So you are now doing the Farmer's Truck. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that to start. What is the Farmer's Truck?
Farmer's Truck is a bit of an entrepreneur middle-age crisis is almost I can call it.
I love it.
My background's in tech. I worked as a product designer for software companies and had my own agency for quite some time. Did a lot of designs and but tech kind of sucks your soul a little bit and kills you inside.
That's what we want to
Slowly.
hear on the Small Tech Podcast.
Like slowly crunches you down and
Oh,
you pick it up with a spoon afterwards. No, I grew up on a farm. I completely opposite of what I was doing. I guess working in tech and farm, it seems like two opposite worlds sometimes. But yeah, I ended up working in tech, and then I had this opportunity to partner with a farmer from Cap-Pelé, from the Acadian coast, the more French coast of New Brunswick. And he had a farm. He had quite an interesting story. He was telling me that, dropped everything he was doing to start a farm. I felt like this was inspiring and I wanted to hang out with this guy. And we started the Farmer's Truck together. That was back in 2015. So the whole point was to help him get access to people and give his fruits, not give, but sell his fruits and vegetable and whatever other products. And that really kind of started the whole journey, and we saw the good it did in the community. We felt like we have to do more with this, and we launched a second program the second year. And fast forward to today, we've launched over 50 programs from New York to Hawaii. So that's Farmer's Truck in a nutshell. Yeah.
that's amazing. Okay, it's funny because I was going to ask something else about like this journey and how you got here, but that's sort of the inception is you two get together, you want to help get his produce to market. But if we step back a little bit further, what led you to the point where this seemed feasible that you could like hop on and do this thing? Like what was your trajectory to that point?
I think it boils back to what motivates you, and you and I both connected on like purpose work and finding our purpose, and
Mm-hmm.
doing good in the world. I guess is what feels what is the best motivation for me.
Yeah.
So I what was the question again?
Yeah, I just kind of want to know like when you got to that point where you met up with him and you're like, all right, let's build this thing. Like what in your career in your life led you to the point that you were like, yeah, I can do this. Like this is something that I can take on and I can get this guy's produce to market. I can build a platform, I can build a program to do this.
I just think that growing up on the farm,
Yeah.
you kind of deal with whatever comes your way. And
Okay.
you're in the middle of nowhere
Yeah.
in the country, and something breaks down. You have to learn to weld. You have to learn to fix an engine. And so I'm not that handy. I'm not like my father. My father's the archetype of a farmer, can fix
Okay.
anything, can do
Yeah.
anything.
I
Build a
love
house,
it.
I'll build a house right there. Like you're okay, that's crazy. So I think that's really my motivation was to do good.
Hmm.
And I was at a point in my career, my design career, where I was not getting excited anymore about projects. The last few projects we were working on was like funeral products for insurance company. I was like, am I
Oh, that's
really doing this right
yeah.
now?
Yeah.
Not that I have anything against it. There's a place and time for insurance. It's just I didn't see myself doing that type of design, in my career. And I did a lot of
Yeah.
exciting stuff. We were agency of record for Bell. We did campaigns across Canada. We did all kinds of different things. But this was a point where I felt I needed some change, and this came out of nowhere, and I just fell in love with it once I started working on the truck. Like the concept was like,
Okay.
oh, that's kind of cool. It's a farm stand on the side of the road. It's not old. It's not a new idea. It's probably been
Hmm.
around since the Egyptians, or probably older than that. But to do it, to do good, to
Yeah.
help your community, that was the epiphany for me. I was like, this is really cool. And we were putting on like 12 14-hour days, me and Mathieu, in the summer, trying to get this going. And I was coming back home and I just had the smile on my face. I felt
I
like
love it.
energized. I was like, I mean, this is what I want. Like, I just spent 12 hours selling fruits and vegetables in the middle of a 35-degree weather, and I enjoyed it. And I was like, that's seems to be where I need to go. So I just followed my heart.
Nice. And how did you learn to build these trucks?
Well, my dad
Okay.
kind of gave me some ideas about the refrigeration system, because my dad's really old school. And so when he grew up, there used to be the Iceman coming once a week, give you a block
Yeah.
of ice, you'd put it in the basement and store your meat around it, and like put some wood chips, and you just keep the stuff cold, for a week.
Yeah.
And so I worked with the University of Dalhousie. I got a grant to design a passive cooling system, because back then, 2015, to put refrigeration on a mobile version of a store was difficult. You needed
Okay.
generators and all kinds of energies, and there's no efficiency. And so we
Yeah.
came up with this cool ice pack kind of setup, and it just blows air around, and it's super eco-friendly. You don't need to run a generator. It's cheap, affordable, easy to fix. And so that was the first design we did. Fast forward to today, we have designed probably 5 different types of trucks
Oh, cool.
over time. We're always refining it, understanding what customer needs, and it's just human-centered design. It's the same thing I was doing before. It's just now I'm applying it to hardware, and I was doing it for software. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Was there anything that you found particularly surprising when you first started building and designing these things?
The world of custom trucks is
Yeah.
a very particular world. Coming from the tech world, that everything's possible. You can build whatever you want. You can stretch the boundaries, and then you're coming to work with people like banging metal, and you're like, "What do you want? A box? I can do a box. That's it." So, trying to get them to think iteratively,
Yeah.
to think about this, was difficult. So we went through quite a few challenges, but at the end of the day, we needed a solid partner. I think we found that partner, and now I think it's the trust that you can do this.
Yeah.
Hardware is hard. Now we're trying to fix problems that are like a truck in Hawaii. I'm like, okay, this is happening. How do we fix that? Like, there's all kinds of different challenges that comes with, versus software you fix from afar, and you can manage that. That's
You mean you can't just click a button and deploy a change?
like we're thinking about doing like the next iteration, about doing like remote assistance inside the truck, which is kind of interesting. Like this
Okay.
to get the data flowing back to us, and so we can see, and then we can use that data and do other things with. But there's some, anyways, working on something there to make it easy for us to troubleshoot from afar. But it's
Yeah.
still a work in progress.
With that in mind, so with your background in software and design, like how much of that fits into your current processes, either in terms of like actual like, oh, we use software to do a few different things, or even just like the thinking, like you were describing, trying to apply that iterative mindset to building on hardware. Are there other parts of your business where you use those kinds of skills or tools, or yeah?
I think that designer-led startups are often better off, just because good designers are selfless in the sense that they really fall in love with the problem and they're a machine to come up with creative ways to solve it. And so fall in love with the problem. My mind goes ADHD racing a million miles an hour. I have all these ideas. I was like, okay, so it's applying human-centered design thinking, system design thinking as well. When we go into a community with a mobile market, there's all kinds of other services that can wrap around food. Food brings people together, but
Yeah.
then you can attach a nurse that comes and talks about diabetes or does eye exams. You can talk about underbanked individuals and try to get them a bank account. Like there's so many, because we go directly in an underserved community where it's usually low income, low access.
Mm-hmm.
There's a slew of challenges for them that are connected. And like one program that comes to mind is in Louisiana. That's exactly what they do. They'll bring a different partner every other week, I guess, or whenever, and complement their food service. So yeah.
That's cool. Do you provide those kinds of services, or do you partner with people to add on those services?
So our go-to-market strategy was, what can we do to generate income to continue supporting the community that are doing these mobile
Gotcha.
markets? And so that's the social enterprise lens. And like,
Mm-hmm.
when there's no money in the solution, it's difficult. So where would the money go if there was a solution? And we felt the truck was the biggest piece of the puzzle. And having a bad truck, it's like you're a janitor with a bad broom. Like it just doesn't work. Like
Yeah.
you can be a great janitor, but you don't have the right tools. So we felt that was the best way to start. And yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, it fits into another question that I have, which is the impact side of things. Like everything you've said so far is like everything is infused with impact, right? Like that is what's motivating you to keep going on this. And I think there is, as you described, like for when impact is the primary motivator, sometimes it's easy to forget the business side, like that there needs to be money coming through.
It's the hardest. It's the hardest thing. Like nobody tells you how to run a social enterprise. It's just this gray zone of a business model. Because everybody I talk to, they're are you for profit, non-profit? I'm like, we're like in the middle.
Yeah.
We're somewhere there. It's difficult. So I think that walking the line of financial sustainability and social impact, and you have to put in some non-negotiables.
Yeah.
And you have to put in, like, for example, our mission is to increase fresh food access. So we'll do whatever we can in that space to continue that mission. But everything else, we are as competitive, or try to be as competitive, as demanding as we could be for the truck we sell. Like we need that to be competitive. We know that at one point mobile market will be more and more used around, and at one point there's going to be more competition. So how do we disrupt ourselves and continue that journey? As that's product designer mentality. I think the tough part is really managing the financial sustainability, because there's so much to do, and we're in an emerging market. It's crazy, but it is an emerging market to do health with food.
Yeah.
They've just came out with a study in Oklahoma, I believe, that food as medicine is the movement that we're in.
Okay.
And they've been doing what they call medically tailored meals for individuals who have diabetes, hypertension, all that stuff, like things that are chronic disease that comes from dieting, bad diets. And they're seeing the impact that the individuals these meals are having on individuals, so much that it actually saves the healthcare system money, and they're serving people a plate of food. Like they're actually get somebody cooking, preparing all this, serving them to them. And at the end, when you count all the costs, they actually save money.
That's awesome.
So our concept is even more efficient because we're bringing a whole food to them. Here's your full food for the week, So that's the exciting part about this emerging market, is really, it's such a simple concept. Fruits and vegetables. Like it's just people like water. Like if I had a mobile market parked in front of my house, I'd go there every week, right? It's just, and it's affordable. It's, so that's the experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm curious, with all of that, how have you sort of handled or thought about, or I don't know, like what's scaling like? I know you operate in Canada and the US. Do you operate elsewhere? And how does that work?
So we're fully remote. We work with a manufacturer to do our trucks. trying to design the business so that it would function as a hardware company fully remote is difficult to figure it out, but we have a
Yeah.
model right now that works.
Okay.
We do have to be near a manufacturer, so I do travel there. Our engineers travels there as well. The most complicated part is trying to service the trucks when they're so far away and trying to find someone who's willing to do that. So now we're opening up a new position, and it's going to be this customer service technician that will go and fly around everywhere and go fix trucks. It's going to be
Okay.
pretty crazy. Pretty crazy cool job, I must say, but that's the most challenging part is trying to fix these trucks when they're so far. That really is.
Yeah. So anyone who's listening who's looking for a job and who has some experience, talk to Fred.
Technician,
Um,
yes.
yeah, cool. I'm kind of curious, is there any possibility to sort of like tie some sort of like capacity building into the communities to deal with that kind of work, or is it like very specialized to your trucks or
It's quite specialized because our trucks are, nobody else does we're the first to market with a mobile market truck, key in hand. We're also very conscious about what we design, that it doesn't create more emission or whatever. So
yeah.
the new trucks runs all on lithium battery
Oh, cool.
because we couldn't find a chassis that would fit the design we have. So we said, well, let's create something that's the next best thing, which is when the truck is parked, it runs on battery. You're not idling the vehicle or anything like that. So
Yeah,
it's 70% electric, if that makes sense.
that's cool. So with that, to what extent, like, so do you have like a base sort of truck that you work with, and or like I have no idea how this world works. Do you have like a chassis that you buy, but you buy all of the other pieces separately? Do you like how much of this comes off the shelf or not?
So basically, you buy the chassis. There's a lot of companies who sell chassis. Ford, GM, Dodge, they all sell. So you need to find the right chassis that works for you. We work with Ford because they have the most flexibility and a very mature product. So the Ford Transit is great. There's a Ford e-Transit that came out, but it's not necessarily what we need. So we're waiting on them
Mm.
to update the chassis. But essentially, you buy the truck. So Ford makes these trucks, and they're incomplete vehicle, and so you have to build the back of the box, which is what we do.
Okay.
It simplifies things quite a bit. Obviously, you don't have to deal with building an engine or doing all that stuff.
Yeah.
But the logistic industry is quite used to that. Like if you look at FedEx or Purolator with their step vans, when they walk in and out the delivery vans,
Yeah.
what they call a strip chassis.
Okay.
And so they build the entire thing around it out of aluminum and rivets.
Okay.
And like it's a bunker, it's a warehouse on wheels is the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
But really you buy the entire vehicle part out of Ford or another supplier and you kind of build a shell around it. So that's
That's
the
neat.
custom truck world in a nutshell.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So that sounds kind of expensive. And I'm curious, like you mentioned the grant that you got at first, but like what kind of financing did you need, or like did you get other grants? Did you get any investment? Like how did that work for you, and how does that fit into like your whole impact focus?
So the only way I could consider doing this startup was if I bootstrap because I didn't have money for this type of stuff. Like companies spend millions of dollars doing R&Ds on
Yeah.
building the vehicles or whatever. I had a $25,000 youth entrepreneurship loan,
Okay.
and that's all I had. And we
Yeah.
had to buy a vehicle, modify it, and launch the business with
Nice.
25K.
Yep.
Which is insane. So we got a used truck out of Toronto, or Ontario. We had it driven down to New Brunswick. We built the interior out of wood because that was the only thing readily available next to the farm. The guy had a wood mill and was
I love
selling us
it.
$1 a plank. And
That's
then, but
great.
it wasn't dry. So then the
Oh,
thing started bending in the
no.
truck. Anyway, so
Oh
lesson
no.
learned. Obviously,
Yeah.
it's a bunch of lesson learned.
Yeah.
But we've launched the first truck with $25,000, and then the next one, I financed it myself. So I bought a truck basically,
Yeah.
and the whole entire thing with the company. And then yeah, and at that point we were pretty confident with the design we had, and we needed to design one for to sell to others at that point. So our third iteration was what we call the A model or the Apple. and we had banana, and now we have
I
cantaloupe.
love it.
Yeah.
What's gonna be next? What's after?
Um, Either Duran or it's D, but
Yeah.
still thinking about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
You don't plan out, you don't have fruits and veggies for every letter of the alphabet yet.
Not yet, no. I mean, and I don't know that's necessarily sustainable because at the 20, I mean, I'm thinking about doing all these iterations anyways. So like we're
Yeah.
working on like the trailer version, we're working on like a farm stand, like a not mobile version of what we do because there's farmers who could use it. So we're thinking about that as well. But
That's cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
You talked about bringing the truck from Ontario to New Brunswick, and you had like this context in which you started all of this. Does New Brunswick itself, like being from New Brunswick, what about New Brunswick, if anything, like influenced this idea and helped you get it off the ground, or yeah, and the ecosystem there, entrepreneurship?
so New Brunswick is the Arkansas of Canada.
Okay.
So if you know what I mean, so there's very little resources for entrepreneurs. There is some, but
Hmm.
it's very under-resourced and underfunded. So
Yeah.
1 in 4 New Brunswickers is food insecure. So it's one of the highest rate
Wow.
in Canada, following Newfoundland, I believe, and then the Northern Territories is 1 in 2. So about 50%
Wow.
of families are food insecure.
Yeah.
And food insecure means that you don't know where your next meal is going to come from, and that
Hmm.
happens at least once a week, I believe, or there's a certain threshold, but basically, yeah, a repeating of that is considered food insecure. And the
Yeah.
U.S. 10% is considered high,
Okay.
so we're 25% in New Brunswick.
That's wild. I had no idea.
So our farming in New Brunswick is also like our food security as a grower, as a farming community. It's about 7% of what's on our plate comes from New Brunswick. So everything is trucked in. Out of all the places I could have launched this, New Brunswick was probably one of the most difficult ones.
Okay.
And it's because me and Mathieu were there, and
Yeah.
we were thinking about the farm. But if I've launched this in Ontario or in the BC or in Quebec or whatever, we would have accelerated our growth, I think. But
Okay.
that's New Brunswick. And I think New Brunswick has, I mean, the city of Moncton was welcoming,
Yeah.
open arms. Like, hey, yeah, I want you to park right in front of City Hall. Like, I
That's
want you to,
awesome.
yeah, like, we love what we're doing.
Yeah.
Riverview was the same thing. Dieppe was like, nope, I don't want to work. I don't want you anywhere near. I was like, okay. I
That's
mean,
so strange. Out
and
of
they had,
curiosity, why do communities turn down the truck when that does happen?
I'm not sure. I think
Okay.
that, when it's like saying, "Hey, the food bank wants to come and do some work in your city," and you're like, "No, we don't need food banks here," and you're like, "Pretty sure you
Think you
do.
do.
Pretty sure
Yeah.
you do." Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's not acknowledging the problem
Mm.
and means that you don't have to do anything about it. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's the politics behind it, but I mean, if you are against the idea of having fresh, healthy food to people, there's other questions I have for you.
Yeah. Yeah, me
Like,
too.
let's talk about this a little bit. Let's unpack. Let's see what happened in your childhood trauma that you like hate people,
Yeah,
So,
that's super strange. I don't understand. Yep, that makes no sense to me.
yeah.
So, with all of this, you've taken this company across borders, you're operating in a bunch of communities now. You just mentioned that maybe this would have gone faster if you were in a different province. If you could go back to 20 and talk to yourself then, like what would be your top piece of advice to yourself?
I don't know that I would change anything. I
Okay.
think that I learned very much on the spot, and so even though we weren't necessarily the best place to launch this, we were able to launch it, and we had
Mm-hmm.
supporters. We had we dealt with the fact that we have very little farmers to work with, so a lot of stuff came from Nova Scotia,
Yeah.
things like that. So I think that building resilience in our program based on where we were, our demographic, applies to other challenging demographics. I mean, not all of them. I mean, I was talking with the Alaska Food Bank,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, "Can you design a mobile market that we can fly around?" I was like,
I love
"What?"
it. So you're gonna work on planes next.
Well, what we're talking about is drones. Because you could
Drones.
like daisy chain drones as a highway of drones that
That's
delivers these
wild.
heavy And really to be the most efficient would be a Zeppelin, because the Zeppelin can lift a large amount, versus if it's just propellers, you can lift a lot, but it's a massive drone at that point, right?
Yeah.
So, and then there's air regulations or whatever. But yeah, we talked about that. But even then, like in minus 40 some degrees, it's difficult to, and that's why we have the same challenges up north. If I can find a solution that's affordable, then there's a lot of individuals and families that could benefit from it, but I don't know what it is other than
I hear Zeppelin and I just get very excited. I feel like I've seen
It's there's the few startups that I saw in San Francisco working on this. The challenge is the wind. Obviously, it will drag yourself out of the way pretty fast, and so there's no perfect solution yet. So until we find out, maybe build robots to build a train track that we don't have to worry about it. I don't know, like what's going to be the way around.
I love the idea of just, I don't know. Zeppelins just seem cool. Maybe it's just that I like steampunk aesthetics, but I want to see more Zeppelins flying around.
Yeah. They're changing the gas now too, so it's not, I don't know what they're using. Helium?
I think that sounds right, because I think helium's inert.
So it doesn't because the other one was, I don't know what it was.
Hydrogen?
Hydrogen?
I don't know.
That sounds like a bad idea. But they tried it.
They did. It was a bad idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, this is the Small Tech Podcast. So, Fred, do you have a small tech product to plug?
Yeah. Let's see here. I have this thing here that I really like. It's called Anchor. I just picked something out of my desk. So this is Anchor, makes this. It's pretty new. It's a battery, but it's also a wireless charger. And when you're on the plane, it turns into a little stand.
Oh, neat. That is cool. It's
magnetic. Holds your phone this way or whatever. It charges your phone, and then it slips in your pocket. A little USB-C charger. Goes the Anchor. Pretty awesome.
Yep, that sounds pretty great.
I was like, this is hardware. I'm a hardware guy now.
Yeah, you gotta pick a hardware. Nice. Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Fred. This was really great. Really fun learning about all of the stuff you've been doing and like the journey that you took to get there. I feel like I could ask you a billion more questions, but 30 minutes I think is already a good chunk of time. So
yeah. Well, I appreciate every time we get a chance to talk about what we do and we can inspire someone to try to do a mobile market in their community, or somebody who's like, hey, I got tons of money, I'd totally go down and invest in this guy. Yes, do that.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you so much.
All right.
Cheers. Folks, that was my conversation with Fred Laforge of the Farmer's Truck. I had so much fun chatting with him. I learned a lot. Doing hardware is something really different. It feels very much like a whole other beast. If you have the skills to do the kind of maintenance that he was talking about, you should get in touch. We will link to the Farmer's Truck in the show notes, but if you feel like typing in the URL, it is farmerstruck.com. That is spelt as you would expect it to be, just farmerstruck.com. If you enjoy the podcast, if you have not subscribed yet, go find us at smalltechpodcast.com. Subscribe in your podcast app of choice. You can also find us on YouTube, so feel free to subscribe there too. If you like the work that we're doing, if you like the podcast, we'd really appreciate some reviews and ratings in your podcast app of choice. Give us some feedback. Let us know if you are building some cool small tech products. If you're having a positive impact on the world, I would love to chat with you. It's a fun time, and we'd love to learn what other people are doing out there. If you need help building digital tools, digital products, if you want to have a positive impact on the world with technology and design, shoot us a message. We're at goec.io. That's goec.io. We would love to hear from you and see if there's any way we can help or collaborate or something. In the meantime, we all want to do something good in the world, so go out there and build something good, folks. I'll see you in the next one. See ya.